Greetings aspirants, hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the daily news analysis by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and PIB from the UPSC CSC prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of topics which we are going to talk about today. So the first article says that holding that law cannot be a restrictive meaning, the Delhi High Court in a significant ruling held that even a woman can be booked as a perpetrator of child sex abuse under the POCSO Act. In this context, let us talk about POCSO Act. See, POCSO, which stands for Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012, came into effect on 14 November 2012, which was enacted in consequence to India's ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in the year 1992. Significantly, it was intended to protect children from sexual assault, sexual harassment and pornographic violations, as well as to establish special courts for trials. Know that the Act defines a child as any person below the age of 18 years. Interestingly, it is the first comprehensive law in the country dealing specifically with sexual abuse of children and is administered by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now, if we look at the key provisions related to it, firstly, it is a gender-neutral legislation, since the Act defines a child as any person under the age of 18. Secondly, non-reporting is a crime under it. So, any person with the charge of an institution, excluding children, who fails to report the commission of a sexual offence involving a subordinate faces punishment. Thirdly, there is no time limit for reporting abuse. So, a victim may report an offence at any time, even years after the abuse has occurred. Lastly, for keeping the victim's identity confidential, the Act forbids the disclosure of the victim's identity in any form of media unless authorized by special courts established by the Act. The next article says that the New York-based Hindenburg Research has released a new set of documents to substantiate its accusation that is ongoing investigation into the insider trading and other stock market violations by the Adani Group by India's financial regulator, which is the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. Is compromised. In this context, let us talk about SEBI. See, SEBI became an autonomous body on April 12, 1992 and was soon constituted as the regulator of the capital markets under the Government of India. Note that the headquarters of Securities and Exchange Board of India is located in Mumbai of Maharashtra. Now, what are the primary objectives of SEBI? See, the first objective is to act as the watchdog of the Indian capital market. Secondly, to protect the interests of the investors in securities. And lastly, to promote and regulate the securities market. Now, if we have to talk about the functions and powers, see, it is responsible for depositories, participants and custodians, debenture trustees and trust deeds, insider trading, foreign institutional investors, managed bankers and mutual funds, then portfolio managers, investment advisors, registrars to capital issues and share transfer agents, and stockbroker, sub-brokers, underwriters, bankers to the issues and venture capital funds, and lastly, substantial acquisition of shares and takeovers. Further, SEBI is also responsible for the needs of the following three groups, which constitute the security market, that are issuers of securities, investors, and market intermediaries. The next article says that inflation in India's consumer prices cooled dramatically from 5.1% in June to an almost 5-year low of 3.54% in July, with food price rise moderating to a 13-month low of 5.4% from a 6-month high of 9.4% a month earlier. In this context, let us talk about the headline inflation, core inflation, and lastly about the consumer price index. So firstly, talking about the headline inflation, see, it is a measure of the total inflation within an economy. Notably, it includes the price rise in food, fuel and all other commodities. Know that the inflation rate expressed in the wholesale price index WPI usually denotes the headline inflation. Now moving on to talk about the core inflation, which is also called the underlying inflation or the non-food inflation. See, it is also a term used to denote the extent of inflation in the economy, but it is a concept derived from headline inflation. Further, core inflation is the change in the costs of goods and services, but does not include those from the food and energy sectors. Significantly, this measure of inflation excludes these items because their prices are much more volatile. It is most often calculated using the consumer price index, which is a measure of the prices for goods and services. In simple words, core inflation is equals to headline inflation minus the food and fuel inflation. Now, what is consumer price index about? See, it measures the price changes from perspective of a retail buyer. Know that it is released by the National Statistical Office. Significantly, the Monetary Policy Committee uses the CPI data to control inflation. In April 2014, the Reserve Bank of India had adopted the CPI as its key measure of inflation. The next article says that in the 2024 NIRF rankings released by the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, IIT Madras retained the first position in engineering for the 9th year since 2016. Shows that the overall ranking based on the parameters identified and defined in the National Institutional Ranking Framework. Further, the National Institute of Science of Bengaluru is the top institution under both universities and research categories, retaining both positions since 2016 and 2021 respectively. In this context, let us talk about the National Institutional Ranking Framework, in short called the NIRF. See, the National Institutional Ranking Framework was approved by the Ministry of Human Resources and Development and launched by the Honorable Minister of the HRD on 29 September 2015. Further, this framework outlines methodology to rank institutions across the country. Know that the methodology draws from the overall recommendations, broad understanding, arrived at the core committee set up by the Ministry of Human Resources and Development. This is to identify the broad parameters for ranking various universities and institutions. Notably, the parameters broadly cover teaching, learning and resources, research and professional practices, graduation outcomes, outreach and inclusivity, and lastly, perception. If we have to talk about this year's rankings, the Indian Institute of Science Bengaluru is the top institution under the both universities and research categories, retaining both positions since 2016 and 21 respectively. While the Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad continued to be the top management institutes for the 5th consecutive year since 2020. Further, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences of New Delhi is the best place to study medical sciences as it retained the top spot for the 7th consecutive year. Notably, the IIT Bombay is the best innovational institution, followed by IIT Madras and IIT Delhi. Then the IIT Roorkee retained its first position in architecture and planning for the 4th consecutive year. Lastly, the National Law School of India University of Bengaluru named the best law school for the 7th year in a row. The next article says that India's industrial output growth slumped to a 5-month low of 4.2% in June, with manufacturing output growth dipping to a 7-month low of 2.6%, almost half the previous month's growth, and power generating easing to 2.8% from a record high in May as the heat wave receded. In this context, let us talk about the Index of Industrial Production, in short called the IIP, and also about the Index of 8 core industries, in short called the ICI. So firstly, talking about the IIP, it is one of the prime indicators of the economic development for the measurement of trends in the behavior of industrial production over a period of time with reference to a chosen base year. Significantly, it indicates the relative change of physical production in the field of industries during a specified year as it compared to the previous year. Further, you have to know that it is computed and published by the Central Statistical Organization on a monthly basis under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The current base year for the IIP series in India is 2011 to 2012. Now, talking about the output, see, the mining was the only segment which accelerated the growth in June, with output rising 10.3% year on year. Within manufacturing, accounting for almost 78% of the IIP, 9 of the 23 segments reported a contraction this June, including beverages, textiles, leather products, and pharmaceuticals. Further, 3 sectors reported a double-digit production rise in electrical equipment, which is 28.4%, furniture, which is 16%, and computers and electronics, which is 10.7%. Overall, the industrial output rose 5.2% in Q1 of financial year 25 from 4.7% in Q1 of financial year 24, with consumer non-durables being the only segment to report a contraction, with production dropping 0.5% from 6.8% uptick. Now, moving on to talk about the Index of 8 Crore Industries, in short called the ICI. See, ICI measures the collective and individual performance of the production in the selected 8 core industries, which are coal, crude oil, natural gas, petroleum refinery products, fertilizers, steel, cement, and electricity. Know that the index is compiled and released by the Office of the Economic Advisor of the Department of the Industrial Policy and Promotion (DIPP) under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. The next article says that 26 from the Afghanistan granted citizenship certificate under the CAA, which is nothing but the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. In this context, let us talk about the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 and then about citizenship in India briefly. See, the CAA of 2019 aims to grant citizenship to illegal migrants from the countries Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan who belong to the Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi and Christian faiths. Further, talking about the key features of the CAA in 2019, so it amended the Citizenship Act of 1955 to make the illegal migrants who are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians from the countries Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan eligible for Indian citizenship. Also, the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 amends the Citizenship Act of 1955. The amendment relaxes the residence requirement for naturalization of these migrants from 11 years to 5. Now, who are illegal migrants? See, an illegal immigrant enters India without valid travel documents or stays beyond the permitted time, potentially facing prosecution, deportation or imprisonment. So, those from these communities who entered India on or before December 31st of 2014 would not be treated as illegal migrants, providing a path to naturalization. However, it exempts the Muslim community. Now, with respect to the citizenship in India, see, the Constitution of India provides for single citizenship for the whole of the country. Notably, under Article 11 of the Indian Constitution, Parliament has the power to regulate the right of citizenship by law. Accordingly, the Parliament has passed the Citizenship Act of 1955 to provide for the acquisition and determination of Indian citizenship. The next article says that the Science and Technology Ministry has withdrawn its contribution to the prestigious UNESCO Kalinga Prize for Popularization of Science, which is UNESCO's oldest award, instituted through a donation by the Odisha's former Chief Minister, Bijlee way back in the year 1951. Official sources said that the decision to withdraw the Department of Science and Technology's annual contribution to the award was part of the recent decision to rationalize on science awards. Further, have to know that the government has instituted a new set of science awards called the Rashtriya Vignan Puraskar to replace all earlier awards, including the coveted Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar awards last year. So, in this context, let us talk about the UNESCO Kalinga Prize. So, the UNESCO Kalinga Prize for the Popularization of Science is an international award to reward the exceptional contributions made by individuals in communicating science to society and promoting the popularization of science. Know that it is awarded to the persons who have a distinguished career as a writer, editor, lecturer, radio, television or web program director, or film producer in helping interpret science, research, and technology to the public. Notably, the UNESCO Kalinga Prize for the Popularization of Science is UNESCO's oldest prize. Know that it was created in the year 1951 following a donation from Mr. Bijlee, founder and president of the Kalinga Foundation Trust in India. See, the prize is awarded biennially. Lastly, the prize is funded by the Kalinga Foundation Trust, the Government of India, State of Odisha, and the Government of India, which is the Department of Science and Technology. The next article says that India's net direct tax collection grows 22.5% to 6.93 lakh crore rupees. In this context, let us talk about direct tax. So, what is a direct tax? See, a direct tax is a tax that an individual or organization pays directly to the entity that imposed it. It is a progressive tax because those who earn less are taxed less and vice versa. Now, talking about the types of direct taxes, there are different types. Firstly, the income tax, where the government of India determines various tax slabs based on individuals' age and earnings, which indicates the amount of income tax owned. Then the wealth tax, which is paid annually. Wealth tax depends on the property ownership and market value, irrespective of the income generation. Corporate taxpayers, Hindu undivided families, and individuals must pay wealth tax based on their residential status. Then the estate tax, which is also referred to as inheritance tax, and is calculated based on the value of estates or the assets left behind by an individual after their death. Then corporate tax. See, the domestic companies and foreign corporations earning income in India must pay corporate tax on various earnings, including from those their asset sales, technical services, dividends, royalties, or interest sourced in India. Further, corporate tax also encompasses other taxes such as securities transaction tax, dividend distribution tax, fringe benefits tax, and minimum alternate tax. Lastly, capital gains tax applies to income from asset sales or investments, including farms, bonds, shares, businesses, art, and homes. Then, what is indirect tax? See, indirect tax refers to the type of tax for which the impact of tax and incidence of tax fall on different persons or entities. Some prominent examples of indirect taxes in India include excise duty, customs duty, sales tax, service tax, goods and services tax, octroi and entry tax, toll tax, stamp duty, etc. The last article, which is from the PIB, says that the Government of India issued operational guidelines for the implementation of the model solar village under the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijlee Yojana. In this context, let us talk about the various aspects related to the scheme. So, what is PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijlee Yojana all about? See, the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijlee Yojana is a central scheme that aims to provide free electricity to 1 crore households in India who opt to install rooftop solar electricity unit. Further, the households will be able to get 300 units of electricity free every month. Then, how does PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijlee Yojana work? See, the scheme provides for a subsidy of 60% of the solar unit cost for the systems up to 2 kilowatt capacity and 40% of additional system cost for the systems between 2 to 3 kilowatt capacity. Know that the subsidy has been capped at 3 kilowatt capacity. Significantly, the implementing ministry is the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Now, moving on to talk about the model solar village. See, it aims to create one model solar village in each district of the country. So it will empower the village communities to become more self-reliant in meeting their energy needs. Now, what do you think is the eligibility? See, any village with a population size of more than 5,000 as per the census is eligible. Further, under the central financial assistance, each model village will get a grant of 1 crore rupees. Significantly, State Renewable Energy Development Agency of the concerned state or any other entity nominated agency by the state or UT government will be the implementing agencies of this. So we have discussed 9 articles today. 6 are from the Hindu, 2 from Indian Express, and 1 from PIB. We'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Thank you.